Well, hey there, everyone. And boy, it's Thursday night again, 7:23, and it's time for the Rumble Mumble. And this is really kind of an awkward one because we are right smack in the middle of the Chili Bowl going on.
Yep, 4 days into the Chili Bowl. It's about a month after what would have been the Rumble. So there's still some indoor racing going on, but it's cool that we're still back here in the Fatheadz Studio and doing the Rumble Mumbles.
So we definitely want everybody that's watching us tonight to just let your friends know that are watching on Flow Racing and the Chili Bowl and not necessarily tuned in to us right now that all of our episodes are archived on the YouTube channel. So what you don't get to hear tonight, you can sit back in your easy chair and watch it sometime during the week.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been working really hard to kind of put some cool content on YouTube. So definitely check that out. Check out our 3K interview videos with Donna Mel Kenyon and Nick Hamilton.
Okay, so, well, tonight we're here, like you said, Kyle, we're in Indianapolis. You and I are in the Fatheadz Studio, but our cameras are taking us to Sylvania, Ohio tonight, where it's a multi-generational Austin Nemire. Austin, welcome to the Rumble Mumble.
Hey Larry, thanks for having me. Like you said, it's a little bit different doing it this way, and unfortunately we didn't have the Rumble this year, but appreciate you guys having me on and looking forward to the next half hour.
I know we were bummed out with no Rumble. What's a driver feel like knowing that there's not going to be a Rumble Mumble due to the COVID?
It's different. I mean, usually our season ends a little bit sooner anyway, the Silver Crown side of things, so we're not racing into October and November anyway, but we got the Rumble usually. That's right there in the middle of our off season to kind of break it up and get us going for the following year. So the fact that we don't have that this year is a little bit different.
So you come from a racing family, obviously, but do you kind of want to tell the story about what exactly that is and how you got started in quarter midgets?
Oh yeah, I started in quarter midgets in 2005, and that was basically after watching my grandpa race for whatever 3 to 4 years before I turned 5 was, and traveled with him quite a bit, or not a lot, but a decent amount, and got to watch him race. And his father actually got killed at Raceway Park in Toledo in the early 30s. So 5 generational thing. I've only been the third one in the family to race, but to be able to carry on that name is pretty special. And yeah, I got into the quarter midgets when I was 5. Pretty sure we've been going to the Rumble since around 2005, 2006, and pretty much just been going from there.
I thought I got started pretty early at 10, 11 years old, but you started a full 5 years, ahead of me. What's that like racing as a 5-year-old?
It was cool at first. We just started racing locally here in the Toledo area, and then slowly started going to more regional events and chasing regional points. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 years left in my quarter midget careers when USAC kind of came along and took things on. So we started racing more USAC, and then I think I was 13 years old the first time I was in a Ford Focus car midget, and then moved up to a midget from there, and I've kind of dabbled in a few different things from an ARCA car to a wing sprint car to now the Silver Crown Series.
Doing a little bit of Google research trying to get ready for tonight, I found some really neat things, and you touched on something right there, was the advent of the Ford Focus series, and you had some great fortune there in working with Ron Hemmelgarn and the developmental series. And I was looking at your stats for your rookie year. They were pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, it was a great year. Unfortunately, the series was in the midst of changing over from one thing to the next, so the car counts were never really too stellar or through the roof. But I'm pretty sure we were able to win, I think, 6 or 7 of the 8 races that year. And we were always super fast, whether good cars were there or not. So it wasn't for the lack of us trying or having that effort. But yeah, having Ron Hummelgarn on board with us that year was great. And that's what took us from that level of racing the Ford Focus, and then the very next year right into the USAC Silver Crown Series.
Kyle, when I was Googling this story, one of the press releases was, I saw a real interesting thing, is your dad, Kenny, who's your biggest cheerleader, he made a comment when you were driving that Ford Focus series that Ron Hemmelgarn had number 91 on the car. And obviously, your grandpa, Jerry Nemire, just everybody knew Jerry as the Sweet 16. And Kenny made the comment, well, we know it's going to be successful because you just turned that upside down and it becomes 16.
Yep, that was it. And then kind of like the car we raced at the Rumbles in number 19, driven by or owned by Tom O'Connell. So between that 1, the 9, and the turn it upside down in the 6, we've always been right in that realm of numbers.
Well, we want to keep seeing you as a 19. We don't want to see the 16 at the Rumble because that means you'll be on your roof.
Yeah, don't do
Yep,
that.
that's exactly right.
So between, started out in quarter midgets and ran, focuses. Now you're in Silver Crown. And you've run a lot of, big races like the Chili Bowl, the Little 500. Is there a certain car that you like the best or a certain race that you look forward to all year?
I've always liked the pavement. Just growing up racing that, and then in the Ford Focus series, I think we would only run it 3-4 times a year on the dirt. So always been a big pavement guy. I loved traveling out to St. Louis when we raced there with the Silver Crown series. I love, honestly, the dirt miles as well. I feel like I'm pretty good there, keeping the car straight and underneath me. So no, not really one particular race, I'd say, but either a dirt mile or anything on pavement.
And I kind of find that a little bit ironic because, Grandpa Jerry was just a fixture on the dirt tracks. But, you have to find your niche and stick with it. But I also saw something very interesting that you ran a couple, you kind of had a goal of running the ARCA series. And you got that chance at what, like 16 years old?
Yeah, that was right when I was getting into the Silver Crown series that was being run by Andy Hillenberg. And he had his team, and we kind of put something together for the Toledo race, and we wanted to do something for Michigan as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't old enough that first year, and then a couple years down the line, we were going to try to do something again. Just hard to come up with all those kind of funds for only 1 or 2 races, and we can put it towards our own stuff in the Silver Crown series.
Do you think there's any unfinished business there, or are you pretty content running Silver Crown right now?
I think there's unfinished business a lot of places I've ran. The Little 500, we had a heck of a lot of speed, and unfortunately our race ended early, so that's one I'd like to get back to. Toledo, it was great to run the ARCA car there and great opportunity, but I think getting on a little bit bigger of a track and maybe a little bit more seat time there would help. And I still think I'm, finding my way in the Silver Crown series. It's only been 5 years, and though we've ran, like you said, those bigger races and been there now multiple times, it's still a learning experience, and only running 20 times a year is definitely not helping us. So to answer your question, no, not necessarily. I think I can prove myself in a lot of ways.
Well, you're one of those guys that started the Rumble out in the quarter midgets, and a very successful run there in the quarter midgets. And then you jump right up into the midgets. What, if anything, were you able to take from those quarter midget runs and apply towards your midget program at the Rumble?
I don't know that too much, honestly, transferred over, but the laps around there definitely helped. Being in that environment from the time I was 5-6 years old until that first start I made at 14 was obviously helpful. But I don't know, I think we ran 6th or something like that the first time we ran there, and it was a good experience. And then now every year since then, we just seem to run into a little bit of trouble. And I don't know, like you and everyone else knows there, it's a lot about starting or where you start and how good your week starts off in qualifying.
So, like I said, you've ran a lot of big events, like the Chili Bowl, Little 500 and stuff. How does running the Rumble compare to that?
You get one shot at it each year for the Rumble and Chili Bowl and such like that. So you got to try to make them count while you're there. And then it brings out the best of the drivers. Chili Bowl, Little 500, and then obviously the Rumble. We don't have much going on around those times of the year, so it brings out the best of the best, and that's pretty much about it.
I have to ask you, on a driver's perspective, at the Rumble, less than half the field gets to make it into the feature, and so much is predicated by your time trial run. How much pressure is on a driver those 2 laps when you're against the clock, knowing that could make or break your whole night?
Yeah, it's definitely going to make or break your whole night. And unfortunately, we've had a issue the past few years where we can't get the heat in the motor quick enough. So yeah, it definitely is a lot of pressure going into those 2, 3 laps, knowing that if you don't put down a good one, that your night more than likely is going to be over.
Well, I think the neat thing that's going to lay into your cards then is the format that we're working on. We had hoped to do last month at the Rumble that we weren't able to complete. Is we're going to try something different. Is we're going to put the transponders on the cars, and rather than that 2-lap run, we're just going to time you every time you're on the racetrack, every hot lap session. So like you're in your element, and now you're just worried about making the car work. You're not worried necessarily about that timing clock.
Yeah, I think that would not only help us, but help a lot of people. Sometimes, like you said, you get in that little bit of a groove in practice and you're running with other cars. And then sometimes in qualifying, like in our case, something will keep us from maybe showing what we're really there and what we'd be able to do. So I think that would help. And the fast guys will obviously stay consistent and work their way to the top.
So how did that deal come together for, obviously you've been a staple of the Rumble for some years now, but how did that ride come together?
I think it was while we were still running the Focus, or maybe getting out of the Focus and into the regular midget, but we were at Gas City, and Tom O'Connell, who's the owner, had come up to us, and he's known my grandpa for a long time running Neymar's and all those different midget series. So he came up to us and said he had the car, and I think at that time he was maybe going to have his son get back in it and race it, but we talked to him, and he gave us the car, I think, a couple months after that, and we each year bring it back to our shop a month or two before the Rumble, do the maintenance, and he's been really good about letting us make it ours and do everything we can to make it right.
You know, as I said earlier, your dad, Kenny, he is one of the non-racing Nemires. He's always been a mechanic as long as I've known him, and I can remember him coming to Eldora when he was younger than when you first came on the scene, I think. And he just has that drive to want to make everything go well and work well for you. He has so much pride in you and the Nemire name. And does that put any pressure on you with that name?
No, not at all. But I think he does that because that's how he was raised, and that's what my grandpa instilled in him. My grandpa always had that drive and that instinct to make things happen. So I think that's where my dad got it from, and I think that's where I'm gonna also, when I grow up, continue to put back and give back to whatever I'm doing, give it my 100%.
So having a dad that doesn't race, I have a dad that doesn't race either. Do you guys ever butt heads about how the car's handling or certain setups and stuff, and who usually wins those arguments?
I don't know if there's many times we go to the racetrack and we don't butt heads about something, but it's all for the better. Yeah, there's not many times where he'll try to argue with setup or what I'm feeling because, like you said, he doesn't really know. But there's definitely our disagreements about certain things, which way it should be done, which way it shouldn't be done, when it should get done, and stuff like that. But no, definitely always go to the track and give it our all.
And, you know, I think the Rumble presents a lot of opportunity for disagreement on setup because the common thing that we've heard from so many drivers, especially in the midget division, is how the track changes. You could be set up perfect for the hot lap, and then you go out for time trials and you get out there and it's a completely different track.
Yeah, most definitely. You can hit the track one time and there'll be a bunch of rubber out there and you'll be figuring out what you can do to get yourself out of the rubber and get around the track. And then next time you go out, it'll be for qualifying or something, and you have it set up to be that little bit more free, and then go-karts or something will go out right before us and tear all the rubber up. So yeah, the Rumble's definitely cool for that reason, that the track does change, which you wouldn't expect too much for a pavement race. But no, it keeps us on our toes and keeps us guessing.
Well, for everybody that's just tuning in, we're here with Austin Nemire tonight from Sylvania, Ohio, learning a lot about his jump from quarter midgets up into the midgets, Silver Crown, and just about everything in between. And we're really glad to have him join us in the Fatheadz Studio tonight, and looking forward to seeing next December, COVID permitting, Austin getting back indoors there in the event sponsored by Jason Dietz Trailer Sales. So now you've got a whole year. You worked on the car for a couple months. So does it just go back in the garage and start all over, or what happens now?
So we were just about all ready to go, and then we got the news that it wasn't going to happen. So we're actually going to take the car this year and take it all the way down. My dad already has it stripped down to the frame, and we're just going to go through it since we got this extra time now, obviously, and make sure we're all set for next year. And then we're also going to try to hit some outdoor races as well.
That's interesting because I think a lot of people that we talk to, even with the extra time, they really don't start, getting that car ready until crunch time, till about 2 weeks out. So that's kind of cool to hear. Obviously, we missed having the Rumble this year, but it's cool to see at least some people kind of utilizing that extra year.
So growing up, you got started so young, and quarter midget racing, you're very fortunate up there at the Lucas County Rec Center, having probably one of the premier quarter midget tracks. I went there this summer and watched the quarter midget kids out there, and such a neat little facility. But you also had to do a lot of traveling, mostly in the summer, but when it came time for like in the fall and the spring, what came first, school or racing?
It's always been racing. Pretty sure there was a good stretch of time there where I was missing probably too much school, and it was getting to the point where it was either I took on homeschooling or I took on racing. So focused on school and racing at the same time. But yeah, definitely a lot of days I played hooky.
So now we talked a little bit before the show, but now you're working full time. How hard is that? With a pretty full USAC Silver Crown schedule, how hard is that working and juggling your racing schedule now?
It's actually a lot easier than when I was in school, and then when I graduated high school, I went down to Cincinnati for about 2 years. So that made it tough, being 3.5 hours away from home and having to leave maybe a race on a Sunday night, drive all the way back to Cincinnati, and not be able to get things done on the car throughout the week, and leaving all that pressure really on my dad. So being back in town has definitely made it a lot easier, but working full time is no different than what most drivers are doing anyway.
So I have to ask you this. The Chili Bowl is going on right now as we speak this week. A lot of pools going on out there right now. Are you in any Chili Bowl pools?
No Chili Bowl pools. When I was out there the 2 times that I raced, I had joined that pool. But sitting back home, I'd rather sit on the couch and be able to enjoy it all week.
So your prediction, who's going to take home the Driller this year?
Oh, man, it's obviously hard to not pick against Bell or Larson, but I think T-Mez gets it done.
Well, we'll see. We're worried about the Rumble, where only half the field makes a field, and out there, 317 entries this year, and you really have to have your program together out there. Well, we're getting close to wrapping this up. We've talked a lot about your growth from the quarter midgets up into the midgets. You want to give a shout out to anybody maybe that has been synonymous with that growth?
Honestly, it's been my dad, and our family owned all the way up through and through to where we're at now. Obviously, being that I'm racing for Bob Lesko right now in the Silver Crown Series, he was always around when my grandpa raced, and then Ron Helmgren was a huge help in getting me pretty much from quarter midgets to where I'm at now. So couldn't do without those guys, but yeah, my dad and our good family friend Joe Dager was pretty much who sent us up and down the road each and every year for the quarter midgets and then into the Focus.
Well, I think we'll kind of close on a weird moment that I kind of remember with you, Austin, and I think you probably don't want to remember this, but what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago, you qualified for the feature and pushed out there and the car wouldn't start. How bummed were you on that one?
Bummed as you are when you don't get to race, obviously, but we had just, like I said, that first year we were there, we were good, and we were up front. So to struggle then the following couple of years and not even make a show, it hurt. So to be able to put it in the show and then not even get to run, it was just kind of like a slap in the face, and I don't know, it just makes you that much more hungry each and every time you go back.
You seem so cool, calm, and collected in the pit area. I don't know as if I've ever seen you upset, but does Austin Nemire get upset at a racetrack?
Oh, I definitely do, but that's not the best way to go out and give it your all and give it your best. So you definitely got to just be as relaxed as possible at a racetrack. Definitely had my fair share of moments where I'm upset and upset with someone, but that's usually when it's too far and too far gone to where I'm not even going to be getting back in the car for the night.
And I think that's especially important at the Rumble, where you have 50 laps of just guys beating your back bumper off. How do you maintain your composure throughout a feature at the Rumble?
It's definitely tough because you're always around other cars and you're always racing with someone, whether that be a lap car or you are the lap car or something. So, luckily, there's a great group of drivers who are always at the Rumble and always the ones in the show who are good. So, yeah, racing against those guys definitely makes it easier for each other, but it's definitely different being on a 100-yard, whatever it is, around a couple tractor tires.
Well, that's pretty much true. Yeah, you're going from the mile down to a seventh of a mile, and I think we
Yep.
stretched out to a sixth of a mile. But it's been great, and it's unbelievable how quick time passes by when we do these shows. We have so much to talk to the drivers about, so many neat stories as we introduce our fans to our drivers, and we look forward to following your progress on the Silver Crown Series this year, and look forward to seeing you next December inside the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne. And Kyle, you want to wrap this up for us?
Yeah, thanks again, Austin. It's cool keeping up with you outdoors all season, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year. And thanks again to Fatheadz, Carl, and Rico for continuing the Rumble Mumble here for a few more weeks. And we will see you next week at Thursday, 7:23 p.m.
And on YouTube.